So, where have I been? That's a great question. Let's talk about that. We are now wrapping up the end of the year 2019, and 2019 promised to be one of the greatest years of my career, with opportunity, good times, great friends, and a lot of loss. So, where do I begin? Top of 2019, I believe, is when, actually end of 2018 is when I started this YouTube channel. Forgive any of the audio issues that I may have today. I'm using the audio on the camera. But started the channel back in 2018, towards the latter part of 2018, I think. And the channel began to see steady growth and potential success. I was really excited about this. Wrapping up 2018, going into the new year. Back in April, starting the year off, I had the Tom Joyner Fantastic Voyage cruise, which I'm a engineer for that cruise. Hey, what's up, everybody? So it is about 12:30 in the morning right now. We're about to sound check for the hip hop show that's at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yep. In the middle of the sound check right now. I got 3 DJs, it looks like. I got Mace, Biz Marquee, that's the stage back there. Working on a Digico SD10 tonight. Had some amazing artists going to be on that cruise. I got to work with some people that I've been fans with for years. Got to work with Sheila E. Got to work with Mace from P. Diddy and the Fam. That was always a favorite of mine. Charlie Wilson was on board. It was a lot. Fantasia. It was amazing cruise. Good times happening there. And then shortly after that, I'd be flying off to Florida to do the International Pastors and Leadership Conference for my full-time job, my regular job, stage manager. Then I had the Kirk Franklin Exodus coming up that I'd get to be the production manager and monitor engineer for. So that was coming up. Had a lot of stuff lined up this year. Did all those things. Didn't miss a beat. Did about 4 live recordings this year. And in my mind, I thought this would be great content for the channel. I'm definitely recording all of this. I'm definitely vlogging all of this. I have to share it with the community. The community's growing. I want people to see how you can go from not only owning a home-operated home studio, but how it also translates into the live world, and how I balance that, and hopefully be an inspiration to some other people. That was my thought process in January. By the time I hit April, which was around the last time that I posted a video on this channel, I boarded the ship for the Tom Joyner Fantastic Voyage cruise. Did the load in, I think it was on a Sunday or Saturday or something like that. Did my shows. Like I said, got to work with some amazing talent, some amazing artists. But around that 4th or 5th day, it was going to be the last day on the boat coming up. Had an amazing day. Ended that night with the Sheila E. concert in the theater, which was my show. I do the late night shows on the cruise. My last show typically starts at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then it ends at 4 in the morning. My first show starts at 10, and then I work up until 4 in the morning. So did the Sheila E. show, and I go back to my room. I'm on cloud 9. I had just texted the guys, my group of friends. I have a close-knit group of friends. Text them pictures of the day before, the Charlie Wilson concert, the sunset. I think we were in so it's day 5 of the cruise, and I'm in beautiful St. Thomas. I sent them this beautiful sunset picture. Amazing picture. Went back to my room that night, did the Sheila E. show, went to bed extremely late. I think I went to bed around 5 o'clock in the morning. In a couple of hours, say about 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd planned on sleeping well through the afternoon because I do the late night shows. Laying in my bed, sleep, my phone rings, and it's my boss. He tells me, he says, "Hey Anthony, I need you to come see me right quick." And I'm like, okay. So immediately I'm going in my mind trying to figure out what I did the night before, what happened, whose show did I mess up, who did I take off. So I'm throwing on clothes, head down to the production office, go to talk to my boss, and he goes, "Hey bro, how you doing? Got a phone call for you." So I'm like, okay, a phone call for me? We're in the middle of the ocean, mind you. There's no service. So he has his ship phone that's connected, internet, whatever. He's receiving calls. I don't get calls on the boat. So he says, before he hands me the phone, he says, "Hey, step out here for me right quick." So now I'm really thinking that I'm in trouble. As we step into the back hallways of the ships with the metal walls and staircase that regular people don't have access to. So I step in there and I pick up the phone expecting someone's manager to go off on me for something that I did the day before or something like that. But no, it was my wife. And I say, "Hello?" She says, "Hey babe, hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good." Trying to figure out what's happening. And she says, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "No. Do I need to sit down?" And she tells me, she says, "Yeah, you need to take a seat." So I'm like, what's this about? And I sit down on the staircase, and when I sit down, I say, "Okay, I'm sitting down." And she proceeds to tell me, she says, "Babe, Sneed's gone." Now, for those that don't know Sneed, I'm sure you don't, Dwight Sneed is my best friend of over 20 years. Met that guy when I was in 10th grade. He was in the 8th grade, I believe. He was actually one of my other best friend's little brothers. So we had a couple year difference in age. Only a few, about 4 year difference in age. But I've known him over 20 years, and he's become a close friend, a brother, an uncle to my kids. And she tells me, Sneed's gone. And I say, what do you mean Sneed's gone? She says, he passed away in his sleep last night. That completely shook my world. I remembering that all I could say was no, 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 no. I got lightheaded. I couldn't breathe. I was in tears. It was painful. And what made it worse is that for all intents and purposes, I was halfway around the world floating in the middle of the ocean. My wife was on the way to his apartment to be with his wife. All of my friends were headed there to his apartment where he'd passed away, and he was still there. They were waiting the paramedics to come pick him up. And here I am floating in the middle of the ocean. Just had one of the best nights of my career. Working with some artists that I couldn't dream of working with. And I was immediately snatched from where I was mentally. Couldn't get home to hug my family. Couldn't get home to see my kids. Just out there. Sorry if I'm delaying this. I'm trying to get it out without getting too emotional. But so she told me Sneed passed away. It didn't register with me. I just been with Sneed a week before that. We went to see Us together. We went on a wife date. Me, him, his brother, and all of our wives. We went on a triple date to see Us at the theater. A week before that, all of our group of friends, we'd just gotten a cabin out in Oklahoma. Spent the weekend out there hanging out, barbecuing and grilling and just having good times, hanging out with each other. Young cat, man, healthy. Really successful dude. Less than a year before that, in July, we were all in Jamaica for Sneed's wedding. He had just gotten married. Still a newlywed. Only 6 months. We spent what was probably the most memorable vacation and week that I'll have in my life, especially at this point. Spent that in Jamaica with him as he married his bride. Had one of the greatest and best times that I could potentially ever dream of having. It was great. It was amazing. And now only 6 months later, he passed away. Turned out he had some issues with his liver or body or something. For years, he'd have issues where he'd eat something and within 2 hours he'd be throwing up or sick or having to take some type of medicine. And to our knowledge, from what he told us, he was like, I just got a sensitive stomach. It's fine. I'll be good. And we just blew it off with, he just has a sensitive stomach. That's Sneed. He can't eat everything. We used to tell him he had a baby stomach. But it turned out it was something way more intense than that. Something that he'd been suffering with for years that none of us knew, that he didn't know. And he flew back home off of a business trip. He was feeling sick. He didn't want to go to the doctor. He just wanted to sleep it off, as Sneed always did. And he didn't make it to the morning. The next day, we ported back in Florida. I changed my flight, caught the first flight from Florida back home to be with the family. And again, my world has been shook ever since then. Relearning what normal is regaining my focus, my drive to even want to do this, to even want to do music. After Sneed passed, one of the main reasons why no video content came from me was because it took me 2 months, actually 2.5 months, before I could even step back in this room, which is my studio. And this is in my house. I lost all of my motivation for music production because any music that I created, anytime I mixed a song, anytime I recorded the new artist, I would always bounce down the session and send it over to Sneed and let him listen to it. And he'd be my guy to be like, oh, yo, that's dope. Oh, I love that. Or, nah, change this up. He was my motivation. And our group of guys, that's how we all are. We motivate each other to strive, to do better, to do greater things. And Sneed was what we discovered at his funeral. He was the thread that held everything and everyone together. And when you snatch that thread out of the equation, it left all of us kind of floating and figuring out what the new normal was. How do we get back? So for a short time, I went through a really, really nice, dark depression about it. Didn't have motivation to do music. I started going to see a therapist to talk about it. Found out that I had anxiety issues and problems that came from this. After finding ways to cope, building coping mechanisms, I got back into the music thing. I got back into my studio. I had like 4 projects, I believe at that time, lined up that I couldn't do because at that moment my headspace was just, it was out of there. And I had to text all the artists and say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get to your work, you know, mix your song, but I just can't right now. Eventually I got there. It's a long, slow walk. It's a day-by-day thing that you have to do to get yourself back in a place where you can just even be creative again. And I know there's people out there that have built careers on being creatives, myself included. That's where my entire that's where all of my income comes from. It comes from my creativity and my capacity to function during a production. When I came back home, we had the Easter production coming up. Like, it was right after that. And for my day job, I work at the Potter's House in Dallas, which is a mega church. And I'm stage manager there and also the AV manager. And I found myself in the middle of this Easter production. I'm calling lighting cues, I'm calling audio cues. Huge production, and halfway through it, I just spaced out. I forgot where we were in the program or in the production. I forgot what cue I was on. And there in the middle of it, I felt the tears getting ready to come in, you know, welling up in my eyes. And I had to call one of my volunteers to come in and take over for me because I had to walk away. I just had to get away from the production. I just had to breathe for a little bit. It became way too overwhelming. And for those of you out there that may have dealt with loss, may be dealing with loss, this video is for you guys to tell you that things will get better. It's going to take some time, but trust the process and grow with that process, grow within it. Find that drive, find that strength to move on to the next level, the bigger, the better things that you have already inside of you. You just have to rework your motivations. So what I started doing is a source of my therapy, or what I found was therapeutic for me, is when I got back to the music, when I got back to production. It then became a therapy tool for me to cope. It took me away from the reality that was to this creative space that I made, that is my natural gift. it took me to that place and allowed me to just work and process and function. And that's what I've been doing all year. And from that, different opportunities and different doors are being opened there. So I really want to encourage you guys that may have lost a loved one, may be going through depression, trying to find that motivation. My word and advice to you is find your creative space. Find that thing that makes you happy and find yourself in there working towards your growth, being that better person for the people that may have moved on. I find myself at this point dedicating everything I do to the life, legacy, and memory of my best friend Sneed. That's how I cope with it. When I produce music now, it's for Sneed. This year is huge because right after Sneed passed away, maybe a month or so after that, the wife and I decided it's time to move. And not only is it time to move, but it's time to build. So with the loss of a best friend, in the middle of finding new motivation to continue to do what I do, we begin the process of building a home that I'm dedicating to my best friend Sneed. Part of the reason why this room is dark right now is because it's a hot mess in here. It's terrible in this studio. But I'm uprooting everything from this studio, relocating it to the new house, and I'm definitely going to take you guys on that journey with me. You're going to see how I build the studio from scratch, from bottom up, start to finish, and how taking this one down and reimagining the space. This space, I wanted to do black. Black was just kind of my thing when I started doing this home studio. I wanted everything black, and then I did my acoustic panels like a lighter cream color or something like that. But the new concept and design for my new studio is going to be white, red, and black. So it'll be a touch of black, but it's going to be a lot of white, splash of red, and then the things that are black are my gear, you know, speakers, computers, stuff like that, chair, whatever. So I definitely want to take you guys on that process, on that journey. Channel's not closed, channel's not dead. I'm keeping it going, just in a different way now, in a new place, away from this one. Something that I'm going to build from the ground up, from scratch, from ground zero. You guys are going to be right there alongside me, watching it happen. And I hope that on this journey to mental recovery and sanity, and again, just resetting and finding that new normal, I hope that it can be a motivation to you guys. And I hope that you're inspired by the little things that I'm able to do, just to keep things going and keep pushing for the new thing. If you like this video, you like this channel, please click, comment, respond, reply, whatever it is. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. That's the word I'm looking for. Subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you on board. Thank you for everybody that's been rocking with me. This time off has actually allowed me to see what type of content works best for this channel. And like, I see a couple other videos that may have 200-300 views, and then I think one of them has like 2,000 views, 3,000 views or something like that. So this time off has actually allowed me to see what type of content that I need to be posted on this channel when I come back. Also, I have a family channel that I'm going to get back onto with my kids on it. Just kind of everyday life, going out, hanging out, having fun. And I think the transition of going from this old house to the new house is going to be something fun to add on that channel. So if you're interested, go check out Houston's in Dallas. I haven't posted on that channel for about 2 years, but now my kids are hounding me and going, we need to get some new video. We need to start reposting. So I'm gonna start vlogging again. So this will be my more studio tech universe type channel. I've hooked up the new home. It's a completely smart home, all the way around. So I think this channel will turn into a mesh of studio, home studio, live sound, home tech gadgets, all that jazz. So I'm gonna kind of mesh all of that into this channel or into this space. So again, thank you guys for rocking with me. Appreciate it. Thanks for the love. I'll see you guys soon.